let's start with the definition. The desire to achieve success and also the ability to act upon this motive. So as I said before, we're going to use grit and we're going to use the hope theory. And it's interesting that we're using those theories to support that idea, because as you see in the very last paragraph, grit is a non-cognitive trait. And non-cognitive means that it's more about those soft skills that usually make up our the characteristics of who we are, right? And then we have a cognitive sense. So here we have non-cognitive, and hope is about something cognitive. Cognitive is more about conscious, right? You need some effort. You need some intention in there. And also you can see we talk about objective accomplishments in grit. So somebody else will evaluate us. In hope, we talk about something subjective. So we think that whatever we're doing is related to hope. So they're very different theories, but they will come together. You'll see we'll mix them and we'll just create something very meaningful, hopefully. All right, grit. What is grit? Grit puts a lot of emphasis in the long-term part. As you can see here, perseverance and passion for long-term goals. It's a new term, and the people who are behind it, they were trying to understand, and I'm sure you've seen a lot, you've seen other athletes and your coaches have seen athletes that they are talented, but they don't make it. So the people who who investigate grit, they started doing it in order to answer that question. Why not all talented people become successful, right? And I'll give you an example to help you out. Is any coach willing to help me out by reading this? Anybody?
Oh. Andreas, I can. I just got to get back to it.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. And you just need your screen. All right. Consider Olivia and Sophia learning to play soccer. Both girls are equally talented in sports and initially expending the same intensity of effort towards soccer training. After a while, Sophia starts practicing in lacrosse too, while Olivia keeps devoting more and more hours exclusively to soccer. So in the beginning, both Olivia and Sophia are considered gifted. At the end, though, Olivia's duration and direction of effort towards soccer only led her deepen her soccer expertise. Sophia ended up getting surpassed by Olivia due to her intense practice of soccer, but also lacrosse. To sum up, grittier Olivia performed better in soccer than equally gifted Sophia.
Thanks, Coach. So here, I give you that example to introduce you a little bit more like easier to grit. And I created this slide to help you out. If we talk about achievement, we can break it down into talent and effort. And if talent is something that we cannot really control, like you either have it or you don't have it, we end up with effort being the only variable that can really control, right? And effort can be broken down into intensity, direction, and duration. It's kind of easier to identify the intensity when somebody's working out, right? You can tell that's intense or not, high intensity or low intensity. What is not that easy is to see if somebody's putting all his or her effort into one thing and for how long, the long-term consistency in terms of effort. And that's the part that grit is really focusing on, to the direction and duration of effort. So grit is trying to say, okay, we usually talk about how important it is to work hard, right? Yeah, it's cool, yes, all right, yes, but that's not the only thing. Yes, work hard, but also be consistent. And if you want to achieve high performance, you have to be consistent towards one long-term goal, not many, because then you just disperse your effort. And that's why we use the example of Olivia. and Sophia, and that's why Olivia ended up being better in soccer than Olivia. And I used that picture of Paris Marathon as a background because, again, Greet is trying to approaches that process as a marathon, as you see here. So in marathons, what creates a competitive advantage is stamina. And that's what Greet is all about, okay? So what Greet is trying to do, as I said, is focusing not only on how hard you work, but also on what you're working and for how long you're doing it without interruptions. Just focusing on one thing in the long run and just putting a lot of effort in it. Now, did really Greet answer the question why not all talented people become successful? Well, from the data that we have, we do know that people with higher levels of Greet have higher levels of education, first of all. And if that's not impressive enough and it doesn't persuade you, I'll talk a little bit about IQ and compare it to Greet. So IQ is the best measure we have for the talent of intelligence, right? We see that all the time, though. It doesn't mean that if you're talented, you're going to be successful. So it was very interesting to see that IQ is not positively correlated with Greet. So it's not that if you're more intelligent, you will have more Greet. It doesn't really work like that. And what's even more interesting is that when we're trying to explain success, Greet explains more success, so it can predict better success compared to IQ, so compared to intelligence. So maybe that's something important for you, and maybe you understand now why Greet is very important in order to explain that success mindset. Okay, all right. Now we're going to go to the second theory we're going to use to support success mindset, and that's hope. And I'm going to start with the story from the Greek mythology. As I'm, me being Greek, I guess I'm qualified to do that. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but Zeus at some point and his gang, they went against the Titans because they wanted to rule over the earth. So they beat the Titans, and Zeus and the rest of the gods became the Olympian gods, and they went to the Mount Olympus and started doing their thing. Okay, one of those Olympian gods is Prometheus, and for some reason, I'm not going to go into details, he helped the humans, okay, by giving them fire and whatnot. Long story short, Zeus is very upset with humans and is also very upset with Prometheus. So when Prometheus' brother, Epimetheus, I know, very similar, was about to marry Pandora, he thought it was a great opportunity to punish the humans, both the humans and Prometheus, right? So he created this beautiful box, supposedly this one. It doesn't exist, it's Greek mythology, but so he created this beautiful box and prepared it as a wedding gift and gave it to Pandora on one condition. She could not open it. However, he was counting on Pandora's curiosity, right? So eventually, as you know, she opened the lid. And then, all those bad things came out: sickness, despair, greed, old age, death, hatred, violence, cruelty, war, malice. At some point, she understands that, she realized that, and she manages to close the lid. Unfortunately, there's only one thing left in that box, and that thing was hope. So as we see in that quote, ever since, humans have been able to hold onto this one thing in order to survive all of life's miseries that Pandora released. So that story is about hope, and that story is about how important hope is, right? In order for us to pretty much attack anything dark in this world. Let's see what hope is and why it is that important. So hope can be operationally defined as it consists of two parts. We have the goal, which is the will or the agency, right? And then we have the way to achieve that goal, which is the ways or the pathways. So hope consists of two things, okay? The goals and the way to achieve those goals. Now, those two things are separate. Those two things are very different, but they depend on each other. They're equally important, and they're positively related, right? But in real life, a lot of times, I'm sure you've heard the saying, if there's a way, there's a will, but it doesn't really work like that. Let me give you an example. You want to lose fat, let's say 5%, right? But you don't know how to do it. So you have the goal, you have the will, you don't have the pathway. Another example, you may have the pathway, but you don't really know where you're going, is something that will probably happen next week during advising. So a lot of students work really hard and get really good grades, and their GPA is really high. But then when you ask them what are they going to do upon graduation, they don't know. So what hope theory says is that it doesn't mean that if you have one, automatically the other thing appears. It doesn't work like that. Also, that side note, there's an interaction. There's an interaction between the will and the ways, and the ways and the will. And that's what hope is all about, that continuous process, that continuous interaction. And I created this so we can understand it. I put some emphasis in that bi-directional relationship. So hope is about the agency, and hope is also about the pathways. All right. So here we're interested in the success mindset. We're interested in the will. Why? Because as you can see, high hope people have more goals. They pick more challenging goals. They evaluate those goals more positively. So in terms of agency, here agency equates to higher performance. And that's why we are interested in that part of hope, the will. Okay, so the goal. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and just talk a little bit about theory a little bit more, just to clarify things. We've talked about optimism, if you remember, right? So hope is different than optimism. How so? Optimism says pretty much that if you expect good things will happen, right? So it puts a lot of emphasis on the ways. Hope says yes, but no. The ways and will are both equally important. So that's a big difference. Also, a lot of people think that hope and self-efficacy is the same. We haven't talked about self-efficacy, which is for next time, but self-efficacy is pretty much believing in your abilities to achieve the goal. So self-efficacy says if the more you believe that you can achieve the goal, the more you're going to find a way to do it, right? So it puts more emphasis in the will. Again, hope says, okay, yes, but no, because the ways and the will are equally important. So that's one way to differentiate these three. Okay, and these are the take home for success mindset. Grit is perseverance and passion for long-term goals. Grit is best exemplified by the importance of working longer without switching objectives. Grit is operationally defined as direction and duration of effort towards aching one goal. Grit is shifting the focus of interest in success from working harder to also working longer and on the same objective. Grit is a better predictor of success than IQ. Success mindset is the desire to achieve success and the ability to act upon this motive. Hope is associated with higher performance. Hope equals agency and pathways. Agency is crucial in explaining success mindset. So this is the end of the very first part.